Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Harley Carnes podcast. Harley on the headlines. I sure hope you'll help spread the word. Email someone, send them a link, like, follow, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Mostly come back. I'm really glad to know that you are there. Watching President Trump pursue Greenland has been to watch a masterclass in negotiation on a global scale. Trump started off by putting everyone in a whirl. Greenlanders shouting, "We are not for sale." Some of them running scared that Trump was going to send the U.S. military for a quick conquering and takeover. Because he said as much, right? Then he goes to Davos, and in what seemed like about 10 minutes, announced a framework for success. As he put it, the U.S. will have total access to Greenland, and he won't have to spend a dime or send a single soldier. He's doing what I and some other people suggested might work early on, because Greenland is actually a close friend of the U.S., so's Denmark. We don't have the details yet, and for sure that's where the devils live, but the short stroke is Greenland and Denmark are now eager to make treaty-level deals that will give the U.S. the green light to build multiple military installations on Greenland, which we used to have, by the way, and to have access to mining and drilling. These things will make Europe safer. They'll protect Denmark and Greenland in particular, and put a protective dome over the Arctic and North Atlantic sea routes that have become increasingly under the pressure of Chinese and Russian activities. Mr. Trump calls it the Golden Dome, and there is no denying its importance for regional and world peace. It'll also make Greenland a military and economic powerhouse in concert with Uncle Sam. If the 57,000 people who live there in idyllic tiny towns want to live just as they do forever, they can do that. Trump's big tariff threats, gone. Levers he no longer needs, as long as the deal comes together. I'm going to keep tabs on the Board of Peace, partly because it's going to be kind of fun to watch. I think it's important, too. It will be perhaps Donald Trump's crowning achievement, which is really saying something given how important the Abraham Accords are as a colossal breakthrough where the world thought none was possible. Now, and the far left in this country should pay attention to this, the Board of Peace has already drawn nine Muslim-majority countries who want to be part of banishing Hamas, bringing peace, and rebuilding Gaza with an eye toward long-term prosperity there and in the region. They are not pushing through the door with an eye toward dominating the board. They were each invited by Trump, which means he thinks they can work together, different as they are, to make the artful deals necessary to remake Gaza. It's a ballsy thing to do, really. Also shows an awful lot of confidence in the ability to put together deals. Here are the nine: Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the UAE, Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, Qatar, Indonesia, and Kuwait. And there will be others. Those pivotal nine are among 19 countries that have already accepted invitations to join the board. Now, countries as signatories are one thing. It takes people to make the deals, and so far, the board is made up of Trump, of course, plus Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, World Bank President Ajay Banga, and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and there are some others. Now, one guy the board might want to think twice about is Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. He's got a big mouth. He's standing on the sidelines saying what the board ought to do or ought not to do and what he thinks it should be about, how he wants to help the people of Gaza, but does not want to pony up like every other nation, including ones way smaller than his, with the $1 billion buy-in. You got to understand, organizations like this do not run on good intentions. It takes seed money And Trump wants every nation to ante up equally. One thing he does not want is for oligarchs like the George Soros clan to step up with deep pockets and say, please, let us help. Canada's Carney is making too much noise not to have any skin in the game, which is both a bit surprising and a lot disappointing. Everyone remembers the sad law enforcement debacle that was the response to the Robb Elementary School shooting case in Uvalde, Texas. 18-year-old former student Salvador Ramos invaded the school with his AR platform rifle and shot up the place for a long time. 19 fourth-grade students were murdered, 10-year-old kids, more or less, and 10 other students were wounded. When school police officer Adrian Gonzalez responded, the kids, the teachers told him right where the gunman was. He went into the school. Then Ramos started firing, and Gonzalez and fellow school guards went right back out again, and they cowered outside waiting for real police and sheriff's deputies. The gunman was in the school for 77 minutes before law enforcers with both training and courage got there. 77 minutes. Then the real cops went in and put a stop to it. School security guard Adrian Gonzalez has just been tried for a list of felonies, essentially felony cowardice in the face of children being shot. The jury found him not guilty on every charge. So I guess he was a brave guy who just hid behind the walls. Anyway, why did they find him not guilty? Well, first, he was just a security guard. He was not prepared to repel an armed invader. He had not been properly, sufficiently trained. He reacted as most people would. He cowered in fear, taking cover outside with walls of brick protecting him from the very real danger. Deputies arrived and went in toward the trouble, knowing that murder awaited them potentially, and they overcame it. Gonzalez is a former cop. His boss, the school's police chief, is also facing trial on 10 counts of child endangerment. That trial's still to come. The only good that has come out of the Uvalde school shooting is that all across America, more efforts were and are still being made to improve physical security of schools and to give school security people better training and more effective expectations of actions to stop the threat, to corral it at least, until the real cops can get there. In Uvalde, meanwhile, family members of the children who were killed and injured cried in the courtroom, wiping their eyes with tissues, knowing they cannot wipe away the memories of that day. And they were silent, even after hearing the not guilty verdict. In New York State, there's only one Republican sent to Congress from New York City. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis is from Staten Island, which is pretty much the only GOP stronghold left in the city that elected a socialist as mayor. Now, a judge has struck down the congressional map that makes it possible to send that one Republican to Washington from the city. Said it isn't fair to Hispanic voters. That's probably true. But it is argued that the whole voting map has been constructed to make sure Republicans can't win any congressional district race in the city, city where millions of Republicans actually do live, but can't win because of the serpent shapes that the district boundary lines take. No way that none is fair. The decision is being appealed. A federal appeals court, the Eighth Circuit in St. Louis, has ruled what's pretty obvious to most of America. Yes, ICE, Border Patrol, and the FBI have the right to use force to make arrests when people try to interfere with law enforcement and impede their ability to do their jobs. The appeals court said the lower court judge went too far, effectively trying to regulate Department of Homeland Security operations and actually harm officers' ability to protect themselves and the public in very dangerous situations. Fascinating legal arguments going on at the U.S. Supreme Court over whether President Trump has the power to remove a member of the Federal Reserve Board. It's a legal question focused on the separation of powers and the limits of the executive branch. What's suddenly of intense interest is a rare effort to intervene, an amicus brief from every living former Fed chair, which is 3, Bernanke, Yellen, and Greenspan, as well as a half dozen former Treasury secretaries from both parties. They are adding their 2 cents to the argument that say the president should not be able to remove Lisa Cook or any other Federal Reserve Board member. That's their opinion. They argue it as a matter of policy, saying such a policy could hurt the image of the Fed as being independent and diminish that independence, and could have deleterious impacts on the markets and possibly the economy as a whole. And they probably have a point. The White House's lawyers say that's all well and good. It's a strong policy argument, but the Supreme Court is not pondering policy. Its job is the matter of law and what the Constitution does and does not allow the president to do. Those lawyers remind the court that it is the justice's job to interpret constitutional law, not to try to set policy. Like I said, it's fascinating. We will see where the bones land at the end of the court's session just before summer, probably in June. Huge winter storm is underway and will ultimately cover most of the states from Texas up to Nebraska and east all the way to the coast. And we're talking about from Georgia and South Carolina all the way up to Maine. It's a storm and a half. It really is. There's going to be snow, ice, combination of the two, heavy cold rain in the southern regions over the next few days. It's January 22nd. It's the middle of winter. We're supposed to get back-to-back winter weather. It happens. That way we look forward with even more earnest longing to summertime. Look, we know what to do. We do it every year. We are more than up to the task. This, too, as the saying goes, will pass. Interesting survey on Taylor Swift. The core finding is that Democrats like her more than Republicans do. That's probably because she's politically liberal and makes no bones about it. If you wear a political brand these days, people react to you politically. Young women love her, young men don't. Politics. The people who did the survey say, with almost longing, once was the time when popular entertainment was common space, where Americans of any political persuasion put that aside to have some fun. Well, it might also be worthwhile to note that in those halcyon days being referenced, entertainers tended to keep their politics to themselves, lest they polarize and become polarized. What that survey says to me is, as always, we kind of get what we ask for. Look, if I could sing, and if I took a political stand, I should maybe not be surprised if I drive people away who either don't agree with me or who think that anyone who wants to appeal to everyone maybe shouldn't tell half of them that you disagree with who they are. I'm reminded of Elvis. Remember those? I don't know if you remember that far back, but when Elvis went into the Army, he was asked a lot of political questions. What did he think about the war? What did he think about this one? He wouldn't answer it. He said, I'd rather keep my own personal opinions to myself. And his popularity has lasted globally all this time. And it'll probably go on forever. Lastly, quick question, gut check question. How many have already stopped on their New Year's resolutions, whatever it or they were? This is about when most folks give up. So there's a thought. Well, that's it for today's Harley on the Headlines. Thank you very much for checking it out. Please come back. Let some other people know about what we're doing over here. Hit like, subscribe, follow, send an email, include a link to the show. It'll help. I'm Harley Carnes, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Fly safe.